Now, don't get me wrong, I love Chicago's classic holiday traditions, but every year I'm looking for something a little different. You know, a place I can go not only to find some good gifts for my people, but also have a good time. And that's why I want to put y'all on the Sauce Holiday Night Market. They got food, cocktails, a DJ, and some of the coolest artists and craftspeople across the Midwest. Unique gifts like handmade joint holders, jewelry made out of different kind of animal bones, stained glass in the shape of butts, and sure, if you're into it, Malort flavor hot sauce. It's at the Chicago Athletic Association on December 12th and 13th, Friday and Saturday from 5 to 10 p.m. It's free to attend, but if you RSVP, you could win $50 to spend. Learn more at RSVP at saucedmarket.com. Y'all already know I love Chicago. Even when it's cold outside, when my train late, even when the news is frustrating as hell, I always feel connected to this city. And it's that exact feeling of connection that drove us to create the CityCast Chicago Neighbors program. Yes, it's a way to support the show and the newsletter, but it's also a way to get more out of Chicago, more out of us. When you're a neighbor, you'll get an early look at events coming up around the city. You can shout out local businesses and organizations you love, use our platform to put them on, and you can get the chance to join us for members-only experiences. When you become a CityCast Chicago neighbor today at membership.citycast.fm, you're going to get our brand new first-of-its-kind CityCast Chicago beanie. Again, that's membership.citycast.fm. Today on CityCast Chicago, 2025 has been filled with characters, storylines, and a whole lot to talk about. So, who's been naughty and who's been nice in Chicago this year? We're bringing you our list. It's Thursday, December 11th. I'm Jacoby Cochran, and this is what Chicago's talking about. I'm joined by executive producer Simone Alicea. How you feeling today, my friend?
I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
I am doing very well. I am so grateful to be here today. And I want to start it off by showing my appreciation to every single person who has signed up to become a CityCast Chicago neighbor over the last couple of days. We really appreciate y'all. We are trying to end this year on a bang. We have added hundreds of new members this year. Simone, do you got the number off the top of your head? How many new neighbors have we said, what's good? How you doing? How you feeling?
Well over 200 this year, which has been great. We've seen them out at these neighbors-only events, which of course you can only get if you become a neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. That's how you get the invites. We had a party for our 1,000 Things We Love About Chicago. We did a pride tour downtown. We went birding with the Field Museum. It has been a really, really exciting year. And so, you might be thinking to yourself, well, it sounds like you guys had such a great year. Why should I join? Well, here's the thing is we still need support. This is a big city. This is a city of 2.7 million people. So while, yes, we are
and we do not got 2.7 million people listening to this podcast. So we got a ways to go.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We're going to get there. I'm telling you. But, this is an enterprise that takes a lot of work. This is our full-time job. We are here Monday through Friday talking about all of the things in Chicago that are happening. We're here bringing you the news. We are watching as, our various budget debates unfold and trying to figure out the policy questions there. We are out here.
Who's going to lead what office come 2026?
Yeah, we're watching. We're trying to keep track of it. Everything going on with the school board. Boy, one of my favorite stories to keep track of why your property taxes are so high. Plus, we've got fun stuff too. The best new restaurants that are opening up. Places to find, to shop local and find gifts, places to donate, organizations that we want to show some love to. And we do that in the podcast and in the newsletter. It's a lot of work. And so we ask you to become a member to pay $10 a month or $100 a year, whichever, floats your boat, to help keep that work going. It literally sustains this work and ensures that we can keep doing it for 5 more years, for 10 more years. And so that's why we're asking everyone who's listening right now. We are in the final 48 hours of this membership campaign. There are 2 days left.
You can become a neighbor whenever you want, but
sure,
you only got 48 more hours to get the beanie. Like that's going to disappear in a couple of days.
Seriously, if you're joined next week, you are not going to get the beanie. probably. It just it is a limited time, limited edition thing. It is cold out here. I'm out. It is hat season for me. I'm excited to get the beanie. I know our new members are too. And so again, you can join them at membership.citycast.fm. And I think, Jacoby, that everyone who listens to this podcast is on our nice list this year.
The Neighbors is extra nice for sure. The Neighbors is
they are the super nice list. Yeah, the super extra nice list. But maybe we should explain what we're talking about here. Naughty nice.
Yeah, because even as we was doing that, I was like, gee, we have been here, you and I, for the entire 5 years, all 1,100 plus episodes. And yet today's idea, as simple as it sounds, is something we have never done on the podcast. And so it's new to us, y'all. It's new to everybody listening as well. But with the hundreds and hundreds of stories we've covered, the good news we've shared with you, the tragic stories we've had to follow all year, the pressure from the federal government, it's been a lot. And so we figured, how can we sum up Chicago 2025? And I think, we got this idea from our colleagues out at CityCast Salt Lake to put together a naughty and nice list, right? I think everybody is familiar with that around Christmas time, whether you celebrate or not. Santa is watching you 24/7, 365, a very creepy concept the older you get. In the same way we watching Chicago news 24/7, except when, we take breaks every now and then. So we're going to start off with our naughty list. And Simone, there is no surprise, a couple of names at the very top of this little mug.
Yeah, we are going to kick this off with, I think, something we can pretty much all agree on. And I'm talking about Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino and Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, the faces of and architects on the ground of the terror and deportation campaign known as Operation Midway Blitz. I mean, naughty is too kind a word for what we're describing here. But if we're going to talk about who were the bad actors in Chicago, I think these folks have got to top the list. I mean, I don't even really know what to say. This is something we've covered very closely now for months. I mean, it is shown up in many of our conversations, many of our articles. These are folks who not only again sort of led the arrests, the raids, the tear gassing of neighborhoods, taking people off the streets,
but they led the full-fledged propaganda campaign in media every single day. Greg Bovino was found to be full of falsehoods in court multiple times. Yeah.
Both of them have repeatedly lied to the public, to the people of Chicago, and to the people of the country about what has been happening here. Again, there is something so egregious about not only carrying out just the actual act of it all, but to bring in professional cameras and lighting and to we talked this week about that building in South Shore, right? That was the subject of that militaristic raid where they sort of, came in on a helicopter. That was captured on video and used as
used as a recruitment tool. It was used as a mission accomplished tool. It was used again in these lies to talk about the apprehension of gang members, about liberating the city of Chicago. It has been used in clips, in full episodes, and in every way possible to spread the lie that Operation Midway Blitz has been a successful and welcomed thing in our city. And yet, what we all know behind those DHS cameras were Chicagoans of people who were born and raised here, people who just moved here, immigrants, residents who all kind of found themselves under the boot of Border Patrol and ICE over the last few months. And these people were the two smuggest SOBs on camera, smiling and hamming it up at every turn.
Yeah, I think this is sort of the no-brainer to top the list. Jacoby, who are some of the folks on your naughty list for
Hmm.
Chicago.
I think while Chicagoans were dealing with unprecedented stories as it related to the federal government, there were some local government stories that felt very run of the mill, like sort of your classic Chicago story. And I think that takes us down to Dalton, where the once dubbed most powerful woman in the Southland of Chicago, Tiffany Henyard, started the year as the mayor of Dalton and the Thornton Township supervisor, two positions that people argue should not be held simultaneously. She was plagued throughout her tenure with multiple scandals, from financial mismanagement, fraudulent accounting. Poorly run meetings is probably the easiest
Is the kindest way to say. Yeah,
it, but
pretty chaotic and yeah.
pretty chaotic, pretty disrespectful. In many ways was a singular filibuster in sort of Dalton and Thornton at large. Earlier this year, Jason House sort of handily beat her in the election and was named the new mayor. She also lost the position of Thornton Township supervisor to Napoleon Harris. Unfortunately, this state senator and Democratic Party committeeman has come under his own controversy as he kind of worked a backdoor deal with his connections down in Springfield to get some legislation passed that allowed him to keep the 200,000 plus salary that Henyard got to have for the position of Thornton Township supervisor, even though local legislation was supposed to knock that back down to well under 100,000. And so in a year in which a lot of attention, both positive and negative, was on the city of Dalton, of course, we'll talk about a little bit later. Tiffany Henyard has been squarely on the Chicago naughty list for a few years, and even as she faces some civil lawsuits and some continued legal challenges, has decided to take on a new journey down in Georgia, where you and I both learned she has opened up her own clothing line and boutique.
Yeah. This was a story that we saw just recently from WVBM. So that was sort of a wild, like, cherry or capper on this story. We covered Henyard's some of the scandals surrounding the former mayor, Tiffany Henyard, who, as you say, I think has been on the naughty list a couple years now. I would say sort of the vast majority of those wrongdoings happened prior to 2025, but it was one of the first episodes that we did leading up to the local elections this spring. And then part of the reason we kept sort of this is a multi-layered entry here on our naughty list, because I think you kind of have to look at the Thornton Township government writ large, but also in many ways, as we heard from Harvey World Herald Amethyst Davis, kind of the Southland, overall, and just some of the issues.
Heavily disinvested, carries the toughest burden of property taxes, have seen malls and manufacturing absolutely leave. And, the story of the Southland is the story of so many overlooked municipalities and local governments across our state.
You would think that this would attract, people who, leaders, politicians who, yes, they're dealt a difficult hand, obviously difficult budget issues, but, endeavor to create some real change here. But, there are still questionable actions being taken, particularly financial actions in some of these spots. And you're just like, really? This is what we're focused on right now, when we could be focused on these other issues that are plaguing the Southland. And so, yeah, kind of a multi-tiered entry on this list for sure.
When we started talking naughty or nice list, you were like, Kobe, we should kind of drill down to specific topics, because for me, I was just going to say AI at large, the data centers popping up in Chicago, anybody in Chicago who is using generative AI that is like stealing water from local communities and local cities. Like, I was just railing against AI, but there's a very particular story that we covered, I think back in the summer, that, kind of went viral for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I think on my naughty list, there are a lot of qualms to be had with AI. But I think that on my naughty list is The writer who used AI to generate that fake reading list that ended up in the Chicago Sun-Times. So this story was the Chicago Sun-Times had published this insert. And this is an insert that was in a bunch of papers around the country. I think the Philadelphia Inquirer was another big one. And it was like this summer activities kind of thing. And it got published in like a bunch of different print editions around the country. And included in that insert was this quote unquote summer reading list. But as readers quickly realized, the reading list had like a bunch of fake books and fake authors on it. And it came out that the writer who was producing that list used AI, used generative AI to create that list. And of course, AI hallucinated a bunch of fake stuff. And, you know, the Sun-Times really came under fire. There were a lot of people who were like, how could you let this happen? And of course, the insert wasn't produced by the local newspaper, wasn't produced by the Sun-Times themselves, but at the same time, they did. They let it into the print edition. A bunch of Sun-Times readers across Chicago, you know, were subject to this. And of all the various AI things that have happened around Chicago, you mentioned like data centers, and sort of we've talked about some of the climate concerns around those and how AI is including that. AI, obviously, ComEd has said, has driven up our, you know, electricity prices. We're all experiencing that right now. We talked about that mural by the Kennedy that was AI generated.
I'm seeing it in local restaurants, local party promoters, local clubs in the city. Like the promotion flyers that are popping up on Instagram, they are getting more and more AI generated by the day. And I think it's low stakes for so many people. They're like, I don't want to hire a graphic designer. I don't want to bring somebody. And so I just put it out there. But the way it immediately kind of turns me off to whatever you're promoting. It's instantaneous.
I think in some of those cases, some people might boil it down to like a matter of taste. Oh, you just don't like the way it looks, right? This is a case where it was bad information.
Only 5 of the 15 titles were real.
You know, I sort of have, political or philosophical qualms about AI. This was wrong information that got published to a large audience of people. And at least it was something as low stakes as a reading list.
Yeah, but then the way our good journalists over at Chicago Public Media,
and they get the blowback.
Exactly.
Yes.
You see it on their stories in the comments. Is this AI? Who is this? It creates a space for more skepticism, more criticism, and harassment in a place it didn't need to be, especially for a bunch of people, both on the front end and back end, who, some more checks should have been done, but who then have to pay for a thing they had no connection to. Don't
cut the corner. Don't use AI, and double check your stuff. Is sort of the moral of that story. So yeah, I think that's why this writer ends up on my naughty list this year.
I love your ending sentence of double check your stuff, because I think that leads directly into my last entry for the naughty list. And when I first thought about this, because I remember when we covered this story of Black Yacht Weekend that took place June 19th through June 22nd, I remember promo it in Good News. I'd heard about it. It's been going on for a few years. It attracts people from both across Chicago, but across the country, who kind of flock to the city of Chicago with promises of getting out on Lake Michigan and river cruises, and everybody coming together for a weekend full of parties and enjoyment. And it really was supposed to represent, there are other types of weekends like this that take place. It's supposed to be a space to say the water is for all of us, as much as it can be very difficult to get a boat or to have friends who got access to the water, right? This is a space for all of us to enjoy. But unfortunately, after the weekend, the main story was about long lines and parties that never happened, and people who rented boats that got canceled at the last minute and they were never refunded. Free places in Chicago, like the pier on 31st Street, people being charged to go to something that was ultimately free. And, the narrative really just was, Chicago scammers got up. this weekend, that people weren't doing their due diligence to kind of backtrack some of the charter companies they were working with, or to look deeper into some of these parties or places they were going, which, you know, if you visit in a city, you going on, you know, some folks' recommendation, it sucks if you end up getting scammed out of money and time. But on the same time, you know, Chicago low-key do got a little infamous, notorious streak for loving a good finesse, loving a good scam. And so
here's my thing, Jacoby. The scammers, to me, the Black Yacht Week scammers firmly belong on the naughty list, in my opinion, right? They are naughty. They are. And I also think too, right, we could put all kinds of scammers on the naughty list, right? I think, you know, there are all kinds of scams going on at any given time. You know, I think especially there are certainly scammers that are hitting people who are much more vulnerable than, you know, maybe the customers of Black Yacht
100%.
But the reason why this sort of elevates to me, like this kind of rises to the top for me, is I think there is something that is especially frustrating, or just bogus. When this is an event like to celebrate Black culture, it is an event to, as you said, sort of promote accessibility to this thing that can be largely inaccessible. It is supposed to be, you know, about joy. It is like this,
and y'all showing y'all ass. Y'all showing y'all ass.
And I you know, I think I run into a lot of Chicagoans and a lot of people in general who always want to blame the people who got scammed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of like, you should check your things, or you should double check, or you should be, but like, how are you supposed to know, really? Particularly if you've never chartered a boat before, if you've never, right, if you see an Eventbrite, you assume that it's kind of a legit thing. Like, I think we can't be out here victim blaming the people who got scammed. Like, that's not fair.
And I will say Black Scene was through their 9th annual Black Scene weekend, July 19th through 21st, which featured some similar, you know, activity out on the playpen and river cruises and parties down on the Riverwalk. You know, decidedly different vibe. Didn't go off nearly the same. It wasn't, you know, as many people flocked to the city, but it's, you know, people spoke of it being a much more organized weekend. And so it wasn't the end all be all of sort of the Black events on the water over the summer, but it definitely was one that I agree with you. By the end of it, a lot of the videos sort of just boiled down to like, you know, don't come to Chicago and just be, you know, going to any old event, or pay better attention. But, you know,
it's a real sour taste for something that should have been really exciting and we should have been celebrating.
To the scammers, y'all bogus.
Y'all bogus.
Y'all boating. And, you know, a finesse is a finesse, but like, come on, man. Come on. I'm already knowing that little snowstorm around Thanksgiving in Chicago got some of y'all dreaming of a white Christmas, and luckily, Paramount Theater in Aurora got you covered with their production of the beloved holiday musical. Them dance numbers, epic. The costumes I'm hearing are spectacular. And I know ever since I said Snowy White Christmas at the top, you've been singing the song in your head. It's all good, you can admit it. That's because this show is a family favorite that brings generations together year after year, where pageantry and spectacle come to life on the stage, running now through January 11th in downtown Aurora. Don't miss this iconic holiday production. Get your tickets today at ParamountAurora.com. December is in full swing at the House Museum. The River North Museum is decked out this holiday season with dazzling exhibits to keep you warm, including The Land of Oz Beyond the Page, featuring objects from or inspired by the 1939 film, including a replica of the Ruby Slippers, original costumes, scripts, production memos, and artworks that made the beloved books come to life. Maybe a field trip for the Wicked lovers in your life. And to really light things up, Tiffany Lamps Beyond the Shade examines the materials Tiffany Studios used to create their astounding output of lighting designs in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Plus, Santa pulling up at the museum on Saturday, December 13th with the elves and professional photographer in tow. Or you could just chill out at a free silent book club on Wednesday, December 17th. Learn more about everything going down this December at DreeHouseMuseum.org. Me and my siblings got my mom an aura frame a couple years back, and I think it's one of the best gifts we have given her in recent years. It's a digital picture frame that sits right in her foyer when you walk in the front door. We're able to load it up with pictures of us, vacation pics, childhood pictures, and we still keep adding to it. My sister's wedding photos are going on there real soon. It's one way we can keep marking the special occasions and let moms know we're thinking of her. As you're hunting for gifts this season, an aura frame is a thoughtful, personal gift that keeps on giving even after the holidays are over. Trust me, I love seeing it every time I go to visit. Save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code CityCast at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code CityCast. Terms and conditions apply. We could honestly fill this list for hours and hours, and I'd love for y'all to contribute to this list, right? 773-780-0246, who definitely should be on the Chicago naughty list. I'd love to hear y'all contributions, but we're going to switch course and we're going to talk about people and organizations and things that are on our nice list. Kick us off, Simone.
Yeah, so obviously we started this list with the naughty we talked about, Bavino and Gnome, but we can't talk about that without talking about the rapid response networks that emerged, not just emerged, but that had been doing the work and then, obviously grew to prominence while all this has been going on. I kind of want to shout out specifically the Illinois Coalition of Immigrant and Refugee Rights, which was sort of a repository, an umbrella organization for a lot of groups. They are the ones who kind of ran that hotline that we've shared several times. Of course, there are so many neighborhood-based Migra Watch, Rapid Response in, every which way, Pilsen, Albany Park, Brighton Park, you name it, right? The work that these folks have done, right? Because I think so much of the news has surrounded the protests, the demonstrations, when Border Patrol would go in and make an arrest, and then, people would come out and they would, blow whistles, or they would try to alert their neighbors about what's going on, and then they would throw tear gas, et cetera. But I think it's also important to highlight the other work that these networks do, some of the proactive work around helping kids get to school, right? And making sure that being on the lookout for immigration enforcement around schools. But helping connect people to legal aid or legal help, helping to support when there are families where the primary breadwinner, for example, has been detained, making sure getting those families some mutual aid, some help so that they can, help close the gap when someone's lost their income, or just people who have lost income because, they are afraid to go to work because they don't want, right? They don't want to be deported or arrested. At the very top of the year, before we saw sort of the blitz, right? There were already, right, some major immigration enforcement operations happening. And one of the things we saw was that the Trump administration border czar, Tom Homan, said that it was, when they initially started out, it was very difficult because Chicagoans were so educated about their rights. I'm paraphrasing there. This is a quote in January, February, somewhere in there, very, very early in the year. And I think that Chicago has only doubled down on that, as things have gotten worse. And, I think in general, the sort of work that local groups have done, whether it's, we did an episode earlier this year about peacekeeping efforts, violence prevention efforts. We saw that Chicago had a summer with some of the lowest rates of gun violence that we've seen in years. I think about even the Illinois Department of Public Health and the way it's issuing vaccine guidance sort of in defiance of the administration, which has sort of been got on an anti-vax kick, right? Like there are so many organizations doing this work in Chicago, and I think they've done a really, really good job to make sure Chicagoans are not only informed, but also safer. And so, yeah, they got to top the nice list for me this year.
The way Chicago has come out, restaurants, small businesses, everyday Chicagoans. I was just, kind of going through some libraries on the Southwest side and, picked up a whistle kit and a Know Your Rights pamphlet and the various ways the city has participated. I take CTA a lot more this year, and I've seen those billboards sort of, what at one point a few years ago were sort of COVID precautions have switched to Know Your Rights information. And so, it has brought a small sense of pride and joy in the city to see just how present this like resistance is in the face of what, like, this was just year one, and Chicagoans have really kind of stuck their heels in the dirt and said, come at us, bro.
Who else is on your nice list this year?
Could you imagine driving in your car, getting a phone call, maybe from a number you don't even know, and them telling you, hey, you've just been awarded $800,000 over the next 5 years for the amazing work that you do in your city and for your people. And that's exactly what happened to Tanika Lewis Johnson, who is a photographer and social justice artist whose work highlights the ways Chicago's South and West Sides have struggled under systemic disinvestment for generations, a century plus at this point, and the efforts at collaboration and joy in the midst of this deep precarity and uncertainty. Johnson uses photography, maps, multimedia storytelling. People might be familiar with the folded map projects, which literally did just that, sort of folded the map of Chicago and sort of took two addresses on opposite ends of the city to kind of highlight the disparities in conditions, infrastructure, and investment across Chicago neighborhoods. And it's good to see that her work is being invested in this way. The MacArthur Genius Grant is such a limited prize that only so few receive every year. And so I'm absolutely over the moon for Tanika, and I'm so excited to see all of the things she's able to do with it for herself and for the neighborhood she works in.
I think Tanika Lewis Johnson is one of these people that, like, anyone who has ever come in contact with her work in Chicago has known this woman was a genius from the jump, right? I think is so well deserved and so wonderful to see. And I'm really excited to see what she does with that grant. I think whatever it is, it's going to be just watch this space, because I think it's going to be really good.
People should check out her folded map project, Inequity for Sale, and Unblocked Inglewood projects. Simone, arguably one of the most shocking, and I've told this story a few times to people. I remember you and I were like preparing to sit in an interview with each other, and I had the conclave happening behind me, right? That is what happens when one pope dies. All the cardinals have to get together to elect another pope. And, there had been some speculation about who these names could be, but let's be real. There had never been a pope coming out of the United States of America. And so none of us had any expectations. And do you remember what I said to you that morning?
I don't remember the exact words. Was it, what if they choose this guy from Chicago?
No, it's G. They picked the dude from Chicago.
Oh, yes.
And he was just like, what?
I was, yeah. So on my nice list is Da Pope. And I want to make it clear. On my nice list is Da Pope, not necessarily, although also relatedly, Pope Leo the 14th, formerly known as Cardinal Robert Prevost, who is from Chicagoland.
Dalton.
From Dalton, is the Chicago Pope. I mean, one of the most famous people in the world right now is a Chicagoan. And immediately, Jacoby, like, as that news dropped earlier this spring, the memes were out of this world. I had people from all over the country still who send me Pope memes that they find because they are so tickled by this. And I think this is what I mean by duh Pope is sort of the person who is on my nice list. This caricature that we have created collectively in the consciousness of Chicagoans of having a Pope who is from Chicago, of like, remember the debate over, is this guy a Cubs fan? Is he a White Sox fan? And like there were stories.
Oh, they moved so hard. The Cubs folks moved so hard to claim as one of their own. It's one of the biggest L's of the year in terms of jumping the gun.
Because there was a story that came out that's like he's a Cubs fan, and then it was confirmed later that actually he's a White Sox fan, right? Where does he get what's his favorite pizza, right? Like all of these, and there's something, right? I'm not out here to sort of like hold water for the Catholic Church as an institution necessarily, but for somebody from Chicago to bring us all together like this, wow, what an amazing moment it has been. It has just been sort of wild to see, and I think it's a net good for the city of Chicago.
Chicago has a huge religious population of various denominations, but like particularly across the city of Chicago, Catholic parishes, Catholic schools still pop up, but it's also a space where like every different community in Chicago can interpret this with their own memes.
Yes.
Like there were culturally specific memes about this Pope. I have seen the Pope on the corner of Little Village. I didn't see him footworking in Roseland. I didn't see him grilling sausages at Soldier Field. Like I've drinking down in Guinness. Like I've seen every version of the Pope meme, and it's something that, like you said, has sort of been able to speak to every side of the city, and everyone could get their memes out. Of course, some funnier than others, but how fast we moved. It's
the merch, Jacoby. The merch.
Yeah, it's only a few cities in the country possible of rallying that fast behind a moment. And I think, Chicago once again showed just how good we are at hyping up ourselves. And
we mobilize for everything. We're out here helping our neighbors, and also we are, putting Da Pope on a shirt. We are we contain multitudes. Hey.
And he's lived up to it.
He plays into it.
He spots somebody in Chicago in the crowd. He giving them a nod.
Yes.
Right. He bowing hands for some Aurelios or it's been
what a moment this was, and a totally unexpected story to be happening in Chicago. Jacoby, who else is on your nice list?
I think, you know me, I love a good Chicago bakery. Last year, I was all the rage for Justice of the Pies. And this year, a new bakery up in Ravenswood, Del Sur, has been earning the lines outside of the building since they opened shop back in March, I think a couple of days after my mom's birthday. And all I hear is people in love with it. I've seen 1,000 videos of their caramelized banana jam in a Danish, and their Longanoisa sausage croissant, and their morning buns, and their flavorful laminated dough, and their I think there's like an ube cream pie. Like Chicago, let's just be real, has classic historical bakeries. There is at least one gym in almost every single community area across the city. And yet it is always good to see when there is someone popping up that is new, that is doing something unique, that maybe just hasn't been captured at this point. And over the last few years, places like Del Sur, Fat Peach in Bridgeport, Cafe Yaya in Lincoln Park, Paola's, who is across the street from Fat Peach. And when their line is over, I think y'all should maybe give Paola's a chance, because it's the best homemade Pop-Tart I've had all year. But it's just good to see Chicago bakeries sort of getting their time in the spotlight, and sort of people willing to stand outside for them. It's really cool to see. And so shout out to Del Sur, which has been voted the breakout bakery of Chicago in 2025. Back to you, Simone. Let's get a little musical to close out this nice list. Both of us got some good Chicago music here. Who's on your nice list?
I think on our nice list has to be LaDonna Hill, who is the choir director for the Leo Catholic High School, the all boys choir, who famously made it so far on America's Got Talent. Final round.
Yeah, they were finalists.
They were finalists. They didn't win it all. But oh my God, what a journey. This is another one of those moments, I think, that, right? So we've talked about the Leo Catholic High School all boys choir. You know, this is a choir that does not require auditions. Anyone who wants to join can join. So as Hill has said, you know, she's had students who have never sung before in their lives who then learn how to sing. You know, they had kind of a viral moment, and that moment kind of helped get them to the America's Got Talent tryouts. And they managed to again and again impress the judges and make it all the way to the finals. I mean, I watched some of those performances in the quarter and semifinals, and they were just a joy to watch. Hill has been doing this for I think 25 years, you know, and this was her last year. She has retired, or she will be retiring, I think, at the very, very soon, and that's still the plan. But what, you know, her students have only had just wonderful things to say. And of course, I think we include, you know, the boys of the choir as sort of part of this entry too. But, you know, what a wonderful moment for LaDonna Hill, and just for everyone in Chicago. It's again, there's another one of those moments that really brought Chicago together, I feel like. And those moments absolutely should be on the nice list.
Yeah, I think for someone who had, like you said, 25 years in education, got multiple degrees while she was teaching, you know, had toured Spain and South Africa and Switzerland as a vocalist and a pianist. You know, you let her tell it. You know, I don't think she was expecting to have a quiet last year, right? They were making appearances on WGN and at White Sox games and at Bears games. But I don't think she probably expected things to get as big as they did in the summer when they hit the America's Got Talent stage. And people across the country fell in love with them. They ended up finishing 4th place, but it is a story that has carried all year long. And I'm hopeful that this isn't the last time we hear from this choir. I'm sure they got big things ahead.
Jacoby, who's the last person on your nice list?
From West Pullman and a graduate of Shy Arts, I want to show a ton of love to Raven Lenae. This year, Chicago hip hop, R&B, pop music has, for me, yet another breakout year. A lot of people delivering some amazing music. But 2025 gave Raven her biggest hit to date as Love Me Not off her sophomore album, her sophomore 2024 album, Bird's Eye. Ran up the charts. It was all over my TikTok page. And though she was snubbed for Grammy nominations, the song ultimately peaked at number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. Brought her a ton of new eyes. She was opening up for Sabrina Carpenter on a global tour. And I just love to see when Chicago musicians have what feels like a breakout moment, especially when you've been watching them, her in particular, for a decade, perform at open mics, smaller stages around the city. And it was really cool to see. She is a part of that cohort of musicians that I love to talk about, people like Jamila Woods and Chance, who dropped a huge album this year, people like Mick Jenkins. To connect to another Chicago rapper who kind of had his moment, I saw Raven doing a video with Adam Killer back in the summer. And this is a local Chicago rapper who has been going viral for videos such as Arrest Me Daddy, which he was sort of bending over, putting his hands behind his back as if they were cuffs, doing this, and sort of a protest in front of federal agents, Chicago police, others. His songs have also been across my page. He has gotten a tour with Chance this year. And so, again, just to see two Chicagoans who, if you know, have been around for years, have been putting the work in. And so, again, shout out to Raven Lenae, stream Bird's Eye, and her latest single dropped with Kali Uchis, Cry About It. We should stream that as well to make sure 2025 isn't the last time people see Raven's name on the charts. So that is our official CityCast Chicago 2025 naughty and nice list. Please let us know, who did we miss? There's so much going on around the city, and we can't have 1,000 people on the list, just 1,000+ episodes. So reach out to us at 773-780-0246. I want to see y'all naughty and nice list for 2025. Forever on the nice list, executive producer Simone Alicea. We appreciate you.
Hey, thanks, Jacoby.
Before we get out of here, remember, you got a couple more days to sign up to become a CityCast Chicago neighbor and not only get the ad-free listening, which you can get all year, access to neighbors-only events, which you can get all year, but you only got a couple more days to get that exclusive, one-of-a-kind CityCast Chicago beanie. Add to your CityCast Chicago merch if you ain't got none. Head over to membership.citycast.fm. $10 a month, $100 a year. You can support the best damn podcast and newsletter in all of Chicago. Please get like some of the people who have joined up to become CityCast Chicago neighbors this week, like Leora M and Lucas B. We see y'all and we appreciate you. Now, you know we can't get out of here without some good news. The Sox have officially won the MLB draft lottery. They will pick number one for the first time since 1977, and hopefully it continues a stream of good luck number one picks. Remember, the Blackhawks just had the number one pick in 2023 and drafted Connor Bedard. He's a franchise player. The Bears had the first pick in the NFL in 2024. They picked Caleb Williams, franchise player, you ask me. And so, come on, y'all. This is probably the best news the White Sox have had in some time, and let's hope they don't screw the pooch on this, because the MLB draft a lot trickier than some of these other drafts. A lot of these players don't immediately play, so we gotta get this one right, though. We gotta get this one right. We're gonna be back bright and early tomorrow, breaking down some of the biggest stories happening this week in and around the city. Hopefully you'll join me. Peace.